Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another week of Sports Talk in the Burgh. My name is Casey Irwine, and I'll be your charming host today. We have a lot of exciting topics to get to today, including a brand new segment from yours truly. And of course, we are officially in October, which means playoff baseball. So joining me are two baseball analysts. We have the Lancaster Stormers fanboy, Cam Macariola, and Cam, I went to the same high school as Pat McAfee, Wick Line. Gentlemen, let's get started. The Chicago White Sox of the American League Central had the most losses in a season in the modern era at 121. The AL Central also currently has 3 teams in the MLB playoffs, the Guardians, Royals, and Tigers, all of them having great records against the White Sox. So guys, is the AL Central just that good this year, or did they take advantage of the worst team of all time? Cam Wick, I'm going to throw this to you.
So I already know that me and Cam are going to have a disagreement on this because yes, the answer is simply that is the reason they made it in. The Tigers were 10-3 versus the White Sox. So the Royals were 12-1, and both teams made it into the playoffs by 1 game. If they played to their season winning percentage, which is somewhere between 500 and 600 against the White Sox, if you even give them 700, they don't make the playoffs. It's because they both simply dominated, which they should have done if they wanted to be a playoff team, but they dominated the White Sox. Both teams did. It's the only reason they made it.
Now, no. The White Sox, terrible team. Everyone agrees on that. The Royals and the Tigers are both good teams. No. Tigers had the 4th best record since the All-Star break, and only later on in the season, after the deadline, they only had 7 games against the White Sox and went 5-2 against them.
Yeah, Tigers are the hottest team in MLB, and they're currently in the lead against the Astros in the wild card.
Yeah, they have been playing well. That being said, they're not a good team. They got hot, I'll give you that, but they're not that great. They have Riley Green on offense and really not much else. One of their saviors of their franchise, Spencer Torkelson, has a sub-700 OPS. He's not been great. Outside of Tariq Skubal, who is an absolute dog on the mound. I'll give you that. He's going to go win the Cy Young. That being said, on the mound, they don't have much either. Casey Mize, another guy that was supposed to be the savior on the mound for them, he's done nothing. Maybe Kenta Maeda, nothing. They don't have anything.
Now, they used to play in division games 19 times in a season. They dropped that down to 13 games this year. Now, if you ask that 2 years ago and the Twins made it, who are only 4 games out of the wild card, I would say yes, the White Sox probably had a contributing factor against it. I just think these two teams themselves are good, and look at them now. They're up in the playoffs already.
Well, what do you think of the Guardians, though? Neither of you are talking about the Guardians. You know,
the Guardians are a good
The Guardians
team.
were a good team.
I planned on not saying much about the Guardians because, yeah, the Guardians won the division. They obviously deserve to be there. They have star power on both sides of the ball. That being said, I really want to know how you think the Royals are a team that makes the playoffs without the White Sox, given they went 12-1 against them. That's not something that happens whenever 2 MLB teams play each other.
Well, the Royals had a hot start to the season. They were doing great. They scored 4.9 runs per game in April, May, and June. They had a little bit of a gap later in the year, but they were still the 11th best team since the All-Star break.
Good for them. They still, if they don't win 12 of the 13 games they play against the White Sox, their record does not get
If they don't win those games against the other teams, too, it doesn't matter. They
yes,
won the games they needed to win.
They played 13 and won 12 of them. If they win 11 of them, they're not in the playoffs. That makes no sense.
I mean, they can't get. What are you supposed to do against that team? It's hard to win sometimes. They didn't go undefeated against them. So
but you're asking if the reason
win.
they made it in is because they got to play the White Sox so much? The answer is yes.
Well, we're talking about 2 wild card teams here. We're going to keep moving on with the wild card because last season the World Series actually featured 2 wild card teams in it, marking only the 15th and 16th times a wild card team won the pennant. This year's wild card features multiple teams of 90 wins and the team with the league's highest payroll. So, which wild card team do you think has the best chance of making the World Series? Cam Mack, I'm going to throw this one to you.
Now, this one's going to pain me, but I'm going to have to go with the New York Mets. The Mets, I hope they met, but they have been a great team so far this season, and that big win against the Atlanta Braves, that was probably the best game of the year. And those games and pulling out a win like that just carry you, and you're going right into the playoffs with that momentum.
I'll give you that Uncle Mo is a great thing to have on your side in October. That being said, if I know anything about baseball, it's that 100% of the time the Mets are going to Met. If you really want a wild card team that has a chance of making it to the World Series, it's the Orioles. I know that they're currently down 1-0 and they lost yesterday, so if they keep losing this game, they're out. Ignore that. This team is full of star power. Gunnar Henderson, 9.2 WAR, might win the MVP. Anthony Santander hit 44 home runs. Adley Rutschman had a, quote, down year. He still had 3.5 WAR. Colton Cowser, Cedric Mullins. It's full of stars, not to mention on the pitching side, they have Corbin Burns, Grayson Rodriguez, Zach Eflin, guys that can really throw the ball. This team has star power on both sides of the ball. They're absolutely loaded, and these are the kinds of teams you don't want to play in October because every single name I just mentioned can single-handedly win you a game. It is not out of question for Adley Rutschman to hit a home run, Colton Cowser hit a home run, and Anthony Santander hit a home run. Even if they're all solo shots, that's 3-0, and that is more than enough for Corbin Burns to win you a game.
I think the Tigers are handling themselves just fine against a team you don't want to face in the playoffs.
The Tigers absolutely stink.
I mean, here's the thing, though. I mean, the Tigers, they're winning again against them. I'm just saying, me personally, I think the Mets are going to Met because I think the Brewers do win these next 2 games in the wild card. I just think they're a good all-around team. You know, they had that above 90 wins. They won the division. You know, they have great hitters, Contreras, Adames, Hoskins. The pitching, you know, it's not elite level of pitching right now, but it is good enough to get them. I think they can get to the World Series because, like you said, Mets are going to Met. I think they'll get there. But, Cam, I just have to say the Orioles have just been horrible the second half of the year.
The Orioles have been horrible, and it really doesn't make any sense because, like I said, they're absolutely star-studded, but one of the things people always say about playoffs, regardless of sport, is it's just about getting there. And the Orioles have the team that if they get there, you don't want to face them because they have arms that can shut you down and they have bats that can go for 10 runs on any given night.
That's why you got to ride with the team with the energy at an all-time high, the New York Mets. And they went 6-7 against the Phillies. If they get by the Brewers tonight, they're going to go up against a Phillies team that was 33-33 since the All-Star break.
I'll be completely honest with you.
And I'm a Philly fan.
If you took this Mets team and attached them to some, if you turn these Mets into the Montreal Expos, I'd probably pick them. But the Mets are gonna Met. It is part of their DNA. It's just not gonna happen.
Hopefully it comes against the Phillies.
We'll see what happens with that. But now let's move on to quite the controversial topic. We tried. Those are the infamous words John Fisher, owner of the Oakland Athletics, wrote to the fans as they played their last game at home in lieu of the team's potential move to Las Vegas. The A's were the last major sports franchise in Oakland, so they are still in outrage at the owner's action these past few years. Fisher faces backlash nationwide, but still may have the last laugh if he gets the team to one of the biggest markets in America. So guys, will the A's move to Vegas find success, or will this all blow up in John Fisher's face? Cam Wick, I'm going to go with you on this one.
John Fisher is an absolute bum. He is a disgrace to the game of baseball. I do not like this man and what he's done for the game of baseball. What he's done to the fans in Oakland. After Oakland had their hearts ripped out with the Raiders and then the Warriors left, they had one team left, and it was clear. These Oakland fans loved the Athletics. And I don't want to hear anything about attendance because when you're putting out a JV high school roster on an MLB field, in a field that is about as dilapidated as they come, there's AA facilities. If you go to the Curve Stadium in Altoona, it's better than the state of the Coliseum right now. They have animals in their press box. It's horrible, and it's all because John Fisher, he had a desire to get that team out of Oakland for one reason or another. He does not have the money to take them to Vegas. He had to get his relocation fee waived, rent-free land on the Las Vegas Strip, $380 million from Las Vegas public funds. Then he's going to go play rent-free in Sacramento because they don't have a stadium ready for him in Vegas. And just so he could finance that stadium, he had to go get $500 million to go pay for that stadium. He doesn't have the money to go to Vegas, and he's doing this all because he just wanted to get out of Oakland. It's an absolute joke. The payroll was pitifully low, so no one showed up, and now he wants to claim poor. He just is, he's a joke.
I need to play devil's advocate here. With a competent owner, a move to Vegas would probably help the franchise itself.
Even that I disagree
Because if you look at the NFL, the Oakland Raiders moved to Las Vegas. They went from the 12th ranked most valuable team all the way to 6th. So with a team moving into Vegas, it would be good for the organization itself. Now, you'll need the competent owner. John Fisher, I don't think he's that guy. And with that, the team would be better and more people would go. And Vegas is the hot spot of America right now.
See, the thing people are forgetting, Vegas has a baseball team. They have a AAA affiliate, the Las Vegas Aces. They are the biggest minor league affiliate in professional baseball. They have a team. I don't care if they're not MLB level. Vegas fans gravitate towards the Aces. They're a big team there, and people are proud of them. The A's can't just waltz into town and take what's already been grabbed. No one's going to go to those games. Who's going to go there?
Do you think there's a chance that they may potentially boycott those games if they do move to Vegas?
I genuinely think there might be, because everyone knows what happened. This is at this point a national story that they shouldn't have left Oakland. It's a tourist destination. People have proved with the Chargers and other teams that it's not a good idea to move professional sports teams to tourist destinations. No one's going to go.
Well, thank you to our two baseball analysts. It was a great talk here for our first baseball block of the year. So thank you for joining me today, boys. But it's time to move on to the pigskin. And when we come back, we'll be talking about some NFL teams looking for an answer to save their seasons. See you right after this.
Bring it.
Time out, guys. I'm late to dinner. My mom's gonna kill me. Catch you guys later.
Mom wants us home. Okay. Bye, guys.
You guys need a ride?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. How about some one-on-one?
I gotta go eat, man. Sorry, I'll see you later.
Before we celebrate the freedom most Americans have, we must fight for the freedom all Americans deserve. Because all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
When I was your age, I was just like you, fascinated by stars.
Wow.
But now I get to search for life in the universe. And who knows, maybe life is looking for us too.
So we're like aliens to them?
Yeah. Does anyone want to be a scientist now?
I do.
Awesome. We need more girls in STEM.
Maybe we can find aliens.
Welcome back to Sports Talk in the Burgh. Joining me now are two familiar faces, the man without a license to drive, Jordan Warak, and the youngin' taking sports talk by storm, Caden Hyde. Let's hit the field, boys. The Steelers started the season 3-0, but the flaws in the team were pretty obvious. Now on Sunday, the defense let up 27 points to the Colts in their first loss, and has many people asking questions about Mike Tomlin's team. For many, it seems the Steelers need to make a move to give the team a spark as well as sustain their success. So guys, what move do you think the Steelers should make? Caden, we'll start with you.
I think plainly the decision that the Steelers need to make is if they're going to go all in on surrounding Justin Fields with talent. I mean, they have Najee Harris, who's a first-round pick back in 2021, but he has not lived up to the expectations that he had coming out of Alabama. I mean, he's averaging 3.4 yards per attempt this year, which is exceptionally terrible for a power back who's 6'1", 250. By comparison, Derrick Henry is averaging 6 yards a carry at 6'2", 247. I mean, honestly, he was getting Najee Harris was getting some Derrick Henry comparisons coming out of Alabama, and he's looked a bit more like Trent Richardson over the last couple of years to me. I mean, the injuries to Jalen Warren and the offensive line certainly hasn't helped him, but I mean, if Arthur Smith wants to run a smash-mouth offense, he can't really do it with the personnel he has going. And even then, if the smash-mouth offense isn't working, he needs someone to catch the ball outside of George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth. I mean, they have a bunch of other wide receivers like Van Jefferson, Scotty Miller, Calvin Austin, Quez Watkins. None of those guys are a good number two. I wouldn't trust any of those guys to get above maybe 600 yards this season. So they need to go out there and get a guy like a Tyler Lockett, maybe. A guy who can put up like 800 to 1,000 yards on the other side of George Pickens and just be someone that the defense has to respect outside of that. And it just, like, at this moment, we just don't have, the Steelers just don't have that on their roster.
You know, Caden, I am in agreement with you in the terms of the Steelers desperately need to address their offense, and I think the answer is receiver, and I think the man that will help the Pittsburgh Steelers out the most is Devontae Adams. As we all know, Devontae just requested a trade a couple days ago, and he could really, really help this football club. He's proven that he still got it. Last year, he finished with 103 receptions, 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns. This year, he's still been able to prove that he is not washed as people thought he might be. And I think that besides George Pickens, Calvin Austin is the second leading receiver on this team with targets. He has 10 targets. That's insane. That should not be acceptable. The Steelers need another player that can go out there and distract the defense and open up this offense so you can allow Justin Fields to be the quarterback that he can be. I feel like the offense is a little bit too stagnant right now, and that's because the Steelers don't have any weapons.
I would actually have to disagree with that because I would not call the Steelers offense stagnant this past week. 24 points. It was the best game by far for the offense.
Three-quarters of the game were in garbage time where they're playing prevent defense.
It was
Anyone
not,
could put up 20
first off,
points
that is
on
not garbage time. They only lost by 3 points, okay?
By 3
that
points,
is
they were
not,
down
that is,
17 and a half.
and is halftime garbage time now. I did not know that, Caden. Good, thanks for that. That's new information to
Halftime
me.
is garbage time.
So,
I mean, if you're up by,
thank you
if
for
you're
that
up by
one,
17,
Caden.
you
But
just pound the
so
ball.
the offense was the best.
Halftime is
It has
not
been
garbage
getting,
time at all.
it has been getting better each week. I think a new receiver could throw it off a little bit for a couple weeks. Right now, I think they need to repair right now, and I think the secondary was caught with their pants down. And I think they need to sign new corners because Dante Jackson and Joey Porter Jr., they're not getting done. So they have to go out inside a free agent, Marcus Peter maybe, go get a little trade. Vikings have a lot of corners. You could get Shaq Griffin. So I think right there, shore up the defense a little bit more, and I think they're there. Now, since Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa suffered a scary concussion in their Week 2 game, the team has been on a 3-game skid and has only scored 1 touchdown in that span. Despite looking abysmal, the team still has pieces that can help them win if used correctly. So, guys, do you think there's any way to salvage the Dolphins season? Jordan, we'll go to you.
Anyway, yes. Do I think it's likely? No. Listen, this Dolphins offense has been absolutely putrid. This has been one of the worst teams I've ever witnessed in my life offensively. They're currently 1-3. They have been the worst scoring offense in the league since Tua went out. They've been outscored 86-25 in the last 3 games, and they only had 184 yards versus the Titans. If Tua's not playing, this team is not going to do anything. If by the time Tua is slated to come back or just slated to be off IR, it'll be Week 7. By that time, the Dolphins will most likely be 1-5. And I think at that point, I know it's only 6 games, but I think that it'll be better for the team to just protect Tua's safety, put his safety first, and just go all in on the tank this year, get a high draft pick. I don't think the Dolphins season is very salvageable. There's a small chance if Tua comes back, but not that much.
Yeah, and the thing is about the Dolphins, they had a very underratedly terrible offseason over the past year.
Yeah.
They lost many major pieces, especially along the offensive line, and Robert Hunt, Connor Williams, and they have Teron Armstead, who's a lock to miss at least 2 or 3 games a year. And even on defense as well, their 2 best pass rushers, Andrew Van Ginkel and Bradley Chubb, are both off the team this year for different reasons. Chubb is recovering from a torn ACL in December, and Andrew Van Ginkel's in Minnesota. Christian Wilkins is gone, their big run stuffer up the middle. Deshaun Elliott, who is a very underrated pickup for the Steelers this past offseason, is also gone. They don't really have a middle linebacker out there playing either. This team is just so full of holes that there's no way to really plug them this year. That and the fact that this team, besides their offensive line, their personnel hasn't changed a whole lot. So I'm starting to wonder maybe if this is a Mike McDaniel issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been bad all around. I think the lack of addressing the quarterback issue, not only just since Tua's been injured, but even before that,
Yeah, we saw how
because
terrible
they know-
Skylar Thompson was, and
They
they
even
chose
been
not to
addressing
sign
the
a good
backup
backup.
quarterback. They didn't do anything at all this offseason.
Because Skylar Thompson has had nothing proven. We have seen him in game after game. He's not been good. So, and Tua has had history of injuries. So to not address that at all, bit questionable decision.
And this offense is not just one that you can come into. Mike McDaniel has his certain scheme that he wants to run, and you really need training camp time to be able to get players adjusted to it, not just throw them in like they did with Tyler Huntley. This team set themselves up for failure this offseason.
Well, moving on to more quarterback issues, the New England Patriots are in their first year of the post-Belichick era, and so far they're off to a poor 1-3 start. The team drafted QB Drake May with the 3rd overall pick this season, but have started veteran Jacoby Brissett every game so far. So do you agree with the strategy to sit Drake May? Caden, we'll go to you on this one.
With that offensive line and those weapons, yeah, I think they might be doing him a favor. I mean, Jacoby Brissett over the past 4 games has been sacked 15 times, and just in the one drive that Drake May was in there, he was sacked twice, including a scary play where his helmet flew off. I mean, when your leading receiver is Hunter Henry with only 148 yards, and your next leading guy with targets is your backup tight end and then a backup running back, I mean, this team is just set up for failure. I don't even think Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen could come into this team and make them look halfway decent. I mean, I don't always agree with the sentiment to sit a quarterback and let them, basically waste their rookie year in order to learn the playbook and they don't get valuable experience. I mean, if you put him out there, we might have a David Carr 2.0.
See, I am a big believer in sitting your quarterback for the first year, especially if they aren't the most polished player coming out of college. And I do think that what the Patriots are doing right for a lot of the reason, like you said, this team is awful. They don't have a line. They don't have any weapons at all.
If Juju Smith-Schuster gets cut from your team because he's not a viable option,
you know your team sucks.
Yeah.
It's just baffling to see how this club is built right now, and I think that if you let Drake May sit, it'll be a better outcome, because then if he started, you could have him look like how Bo Nix looks right now, which Bo Nix looks like one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL right now. I think you just sit Drake May, you get a high draft pick next year, and you actually get him a receiver or a line or some type of help that can make sure he's not pummeled every time he steps on the field, and make sure that he has people that can score touchdowns with, because right now the Patriots have nobody.
I mean, how do you think it'll help his actual development, though? Because unlike, you could reference the Chiefs, for example, when they sat Mahomes.
Or the Packers.
At least
Twice.
Yeah, and at least the Packers, though, at least those teams had something to build off them with and show them how to develop. Patriots, I don't know if they have anything to even develop him with. So, honestly, I would argue maybe that just game experience is the best way that they can develop him right now.
But
I mean, if you put him out there,
I don't know about that, though, because Bryce Young, look at Bryce Young. Again, look at Bo Nix. Like I said, game experience is not always the best experience. If you put in these players in there and they're getting pummeled and destroyed, that's doing nothing but lowering their confidence, and that's not giving your players any benefit at all. It's just going to hurt them.
All right, well, when we come back, we'll be talking some NBA in my own brand new segment. Stay tuned right after this.
If you love them enough to suck the snot out of their nose at 4 a.m., then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Today, we face an unprecedented crisis. Tens of millions of refugees have been forced from their homes. But you can make a difference. Turn disruption and despair to hope and opportunity. Even small amounts make a big difference. Provide shelter, support, or jobs in your community. The more we understand, the greater sense of belonging we create. Act now. Visit supportcrisisrelief.org.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
Families don't have to talk about everything, but they should talk about how to plan for an emergency. Get tips and resources to make your family's emergency plan.
Welcome back to Sports Talk in the Burgh. The NBA preseason starts this week, so before it gets underway, I thought I would have to point out 3 guys who have a lot of expectations and need to have stellar seasons for their team's sake and, most importantly, their own sakes. Welcome, everyone, to Prove It or Lose It. And now I've got 3 guys to go with, and for number 3, I'm going to go with a guy who went to a team with scraps at the start and now has the world at his fingers. For that, I'm going with Jalen Brunson. I'll admit, a few years ago when the next big move of the offseason was to get this guy in free agency, I thought it was hilarious. But then this guy took a team with barely anything and outshined everyone. And last season, the Knicks were the number 2 seed with him at the helm. But then they lose in the Eastern semis to the Pacers. That was embarrassing. And now in the offseason, they've not only added Mikal Bridges, but they just traded for Karl Anthony Towns. Jalen Brunson, you came into New York and you stole this team from Julius Randle, and you won the hearts of millions in the Big Apple. I know Cat has a bigger name for you, and he's been a bigger name than you for years, but not anymore. This is your team, Jalen Brunson, and for all those people in the Bronx who have suffered for a decade watching the Knicks, their time is now. You had to take this team, at least the Eastern Conference Semifinals, if not the finals for sure, or you're going to start to lose those people. No more excuses, Jalen. It's time to prove who you really are. For my number 2 guy, it's not a player, but a coach. A coach with 0 professional basketball coaching experience. But now he's at the helm of the biggest franchise in the NBA. That man is JJ Redick. I like some of the JJ Redick analysis on ESPN. What does he know about coaching? That is what the people of America asked when you were hired by the Lakers, JJ. You have a podcast with LeBron James, but can you draw him up a play to get him open at the last second in the playoffs? Can you even get in the playoffs? Can you utilize Anthony Davis properly? Can you make proper adjustments? What can you do, JJ Redick? That's what I'm asking you, and you better prove what you can do as the coach of the Lakers this season, or you're gone, buddy. No playoffs this year, and you'll be back to podcasting. Don't think you're going to be able to go back to ESPN either. No one will want to hear the opinions of a failed NBA coach on national television. Fail to prove it this season, and you could lose your whole basketball career. Now, ladies and gentlemen, recently in the news, you may have seen that former President Jimmy Carter turned 100 years old. Isn't that nice? He's seen World War II, the Civil Rights Movement, the development of modern technology, but he's never seen 30-year-old Joel Embiid in a conference final. This man is supposed to be one of the most dominant players in the league of this generation. He's won that pity MVP, in my opinion. He's one of the many players who he's a player who many consider to be the best in the league still. He's had teammates like James Harden, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons when he was good, Doc Rivers as a coach, Nick Nurse now. Yet this guy he has not even sniffed a championship. He has not even sniffed a conference final. Can you be for real, Embiid? Your only taste of glory was the gold medal for USA, and you only even got 11 minutes in the final. You have Paul George with you now, and Tyrese Maxey has evolved into an elite player. Joel Embiid, I have no respect for the way you play the game of basketball, but I can respect wins. And you don't even have that, though. Prove me wrong, Joel Embiid. Get to the finals this year, or your legacy is in the bin.
Wow.
Real question for you, Casey. Do you even watch the game of basketball?
No, I do.
I don't believe it. With what you're saying about Jalen Brunson, are you kidding me? Him having the most to prove? He went into a terrible situation with Julius Randle.
I acknowledge that.
And nothing else. And he brought this team back to the brink.
I acknowledge that.
What does he have left to prove?
He has to prove that he can do it with people now. He has to prove.
What do you mean? What do you mean he has to prove he could do it with people? He could do it without it. He could do it with
number 2 seed last year, you lose to the Pacers.
With half of his team injured.
Are you serious?
Josh Hart was out.
Lift them up.
Mitchell Robinson was out. OG Anunoby was day-to-day.
Okay, no. That is not how the Knicks play basketball. LeBron James is the greatest player of all time. What are we talking about here?
Jalen Brunson
if you think everyone is going to be LeBron, then you're crazy.
Jalen Brunson is that man, but the Knicks do not play hero basketball. They play team basketball, and Jalen Brunson alone wasn't going to get them past the far in the playoffs because that's not how they play basketball. That's not how they do it.
If you're a star of the number 2 seed, yes, you should be getting them far in the playoffs.
By LeBron normalcy. Not everyone's LeBron.
I'm not saying everyone is LeBron. That was just an example I used. I'm just saying Jalen Brunson now has everything. If he cannot get this team, because he's still the leader of this team, would you say that's right?
Yeah, I would say he's the leader of this team.
He is still the leader of this team. This team should be at least in the conference finals, if not the finals. This is a Knicks franchise, one of the biggest franchises in the entire basketball world.
You think they
have been hungering for something. And they could finally have it. And Jalen Brunson has to finish the story.
So
that's what he has to do.
Do you legit believe that the Knicks should make the finals this year over the Celtics?
Yes. They have. Yes.
You clearly do not watch a game of basketball.
They have a better team than the Celtics. I would say the Knicks have a better team than the Celtics.
Oh my goodness! No, you did not just say that.
Yes. Just kept the same.
That's all we have for Sports Talk in the Burgh. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you all next week.